At this point, a lot of us have played DMZ, and I think after many of us have played it, we've all been asking the same question. What's the point? And that's a pretty big problem with DMZ right now, because I think a lot of people are feeling this way. Like, they get into the game, they're playing it, and well, you play it a first few times, like there is definitely fun to be had there, but after those first few times, you're wondering to yourself, like, why exactly am I collecting all this loot? Because I've kind of noticed something, and I'm sure you guys also all have, but really all you're doing and all the loot you collected, even though there's a lot of different varieties of loot that you could collect and you could take out of the game, but really all that matters is your guns, because literally nothing else really matters. Because if we look at our tacticals, lethals, and field upgrades, like, it doesn't matter if you exfil with those, because you literally could get an infinite amount of those every single time you load into a new match. You just click on your tactical, you get a new one each time. But then you could look to other things like your backpack, armor carrier, gas mask, kill streak, and self-revive. And sure, those things do save from match to match, but you're only able to save one of each. And to really explain why this is a problem, like, let's just say you go into a game, you find one kill streak, and you're like, oh, that's cool, I want to use that, but for a different match. But then you find another one, so now you have two. You have one equipped to you, and then one in your backpack. And then you exfil, then you go to the menus, and now you only have one, just the one that was on your soldier. The other one is nowhere to be found. And that's kind of the problem with all of these things that I've just mentioned, that there isn't a storage for them. The only storage you have between matches for these items is on your character. You can't save any of the other ones, which doesn't make much sense to me, to be completely honest, because to me, I think your backpack, gas mask, armor carrier, kill streak, and self-revive should work just like the keys and guns, because those are the only things functioning as they should for an extraction style game. Because what they have is a storage, because you could go into a game, grab 3 new guns and exfil, and now all 3 of those new guns are in your storage and you could use them for another run of DMZ. It's kind of the same thing with the keys. You could find a bunch of keys in the game, and then you could rather do them that game, or you could extract with all your how many keys you found, and then all of those keys are now in your storage. And that is how everything should work in DMZ, but unfortunately it's not how it works. And really, that kind of throws everything off, because really it's just one thing, because the keys at the end of the day are just to open up rooms to find guns. So it's really just guns at the end of the day that you are collecting in this game. And don't get me wrong, that's a huge part of extraction game modes, to collect the guns and keep going back in and keep doing a new infiltration and try to find the guns that you really like, that have the perfect attachments, and then keep doing that over and over again until you have a ton of guns. Like, that's definitely a really cool part of extraction style game modes, but that's it. Everything else in this game is not something you could collect, and that's kind of the whole point of these, is that you're supposed to play these game modes to kind of be a hoarder. You're trying to collect all the crazy stuff, everything, so you just have that perfect loadout, and then whenever you finally collect all the perfect stuff. But instead, the only thing that works like that is the guns, and that's just not a good thing for game modes like this, because everything should work like that. It shouldn't just be your guns. It should be your tacticals, your lethals, your field upgrades, your backpacks, your armor carries, your gas mask, kill streaks, and self-revives. All of that should be like that. They should have their storage. You should be able to collect on a ton of self-revives, a ton of kill streaks, a ton of gas masks, a ton of tacticals, and you guys get what I'm saying here, because that's just how extraction game modes are supposed to work, and it's literally how every single other one that I've ever heard of works. It's not just guns in those games, it's literally all of your equipment, but unfortunately, that's just not how it works in this game, and this is just a humongous mistake in my opinion. And the reason I say it's a mistake is because it's not like this is something that they could eventually add in. Like, they've teased the idea of a black market, which is definitely needed inside this game, and I'll explain more why that's needed in a second, but this is just a design decision that is just completely throwing everything off. And to me, I really think that they should go back and think about adding a storage system for everything else, and not just guns and keys. Everything should be saved inside your storage, just not 2 different things. And until they do that, it's just going to become very stale very fast, because you're going to easily collect the guns that you want relatively fast because that's all you're collecting here at the end of the day. And this is definitely the biggest issue currently with the game, in my opinion. But it definitely isn't the only one, and I kind of alluded to another problem that it was having, and this is the lack of a black market system, or more importantly, a currency system. And it's weird because we do have a currency. We literally have cash in this game that you could then get inside the game, and you could buy stuff at a loadout and stuff like that. But what happens when you exfil with a ton of cash? Well, that cash is turned into XP. And don't get me wrong, that's nice and all to get XP from that, but that's just not how any other extraction game mode works. Like, how all the other ones work is that you take the cash out and that's saved in your storage, and then when you have it in your storage, you could choose to reload into another game with that cash, or you could do what they've been teasing at, that's going to be added in at a black market that is normally added into the game menus, of course, next to all your storage and stuff like that. And that's how they are supposed to work, but this just doesn't have that. And to me, it just makes it feel kind of difficult to enjoy a lot of this, because the only reason to play this game is to collect guns, which again is not a bad thing, but just lacking everything else, the things I mentioned earlier. And the problem with the lack of currency and black market, that again, to be fair, has been teased at is going to come in the future, but without them right now, the game gets incredibly stale very fast, which really sucks, because the thing is about DMZ is that I actually don't think the in-game gameplay is actually bad. In fact, I think it's in a really solid place for the gameplay. But the problem is that extraction game modes, a huge part of them is outside of the game. It's in the menus. And if you don't get that right along with the gameplay, the entire game mode is going to suffer, including the gameplay, even though it's not even directly tied to these things. And that really sucks, because it's completely throwing off the replayability and the whole, stakes and idea of what these game modes, these extraction style game modes, are supposed to be. So to me, I just feel like they need to really step it up in the lobby side of this, not even the in-game side of this game mode. Like, that is in a pretty good place. Don't get me wrong, they could make improvements there 100%, but until they figure out the storage and black market and currency, this game is going to get incredibly stale incredibly fast, because all you're really doing right now is collecting guns, and there just has to be more to this game. But regardless though, that is going to wrap up this video for me, and honestly, I'm curious to hear what you guys think about everything I've said, and also just your own unique thoughts on DMZ. Do you guys think DMZ has a future, or it doesn't, or anything like that? Let me know down in the comment section below. Regardless though, that's going to wrap it up for me. If you guys did enjoy the video, definitely do all the normal YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, bell, share, and all that great stuff. But I'm going to go. I'll catch you guys next stream, video, or whatever the heck it may be, and laters guys.